Hello and welcome to another episode of the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. I'm your host, Eric Henriksen, and with me, once again, is my partner in crime, Josh Day. Josh, how you doing?
Yeah, ready to talk some fantasy baseball and wrap up the season.
There we go. On today's show, a year in review. Outcomes of our leagues, both the 10-team and the 12-teamer, our biggest surprise and our biggest letdown of the year, and then some lessons that we have learned. So we are recapping the 2025 fantasy baseball season, which if you were smart, you scheduled the end of your season to be last Sunday. And if you weren't smart, you're still going this week. And you might be jumping through some hurdles to set your lineups with guys being rested, some starters not starting. Not that we weren't doing that last week, but we will wrap up the season in this final episode of the 2025 fantasy baseball season. Not that we won't be back, because we will. But just a friendly reminder to be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're available on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and the Odyssey app. And leave us a 5-star rating, a like, a thumbs up, a kind review. It goes a long way in helping us out. So, without any further ado, let's talk about the outcomes of our leagues. Josh, starting with the 10-teamer, this league's been around for, since 2014. So what does that make? This is our 12th season. We have had a slew of different champions. You and I are both on the pantheon of the multi-time winners, but not to sound too gloaty, I am our only now 3-time champion of the league. I won this year up against none other than you. And it was quite honestly, it was a bloodbath in the championship. I thought I was managing my tail off just to hold you off. And it was,
No.
Yes, I was. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear otherwise.
No, I'm not taking away from your win. I'm just saying, I think, the week before, for me anyway, was, I feel like you had a really tough battle the week before. My team was, really cooking, I guess the semifinals in the 3-week championships. And when I got to you, it was on the Monday, and your pitching crapped the bed.
Oh, God, real fast.
And then you started streaming, and I was like, I didn't take your team crapping the bed as oh, I'm gonna win. It was more like, oh no, I'm in a little bit of a disadvantage here, because maybe this is just me being pessimistic, because I have something to protect, but I can't hit you with volume in terms of pitching. And that sort of ended up being the case, is that even though I think I probably won ERA, I think you took, because you streamed, and you're a smart streamer. Although I think it got pretty dicey on the weekend.
It got really dicey the last weekend.
I think I chirped the chat, in Yahoo you can see all the ad drops, and you can comment on it. And I think I wrote yikes, just because it's
Yeah.
it was the final week and the pickups that people were doing.
Joey Cantillo was the ad. I
know,
made that ad,
I was
and you threw in an eye emoji.
Well, it
and
wasn't
you
just
said,
you.
"Yikes." I know.
It wasn't just you. It was
Yeah.
another person picked up somebody, and I was like, what the hell? This would be so desperate in any other week. And it was and I was just I think I had one more move, and I was just there's just nothing.
No.
Nothing's gonna help. So anyway, your team performed well, you managed well. Congrats to you, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will say that it was, once again, an honor competing against you, and I'm so glad it was the two of us in the championship, because I do feel like we are the two best managers in that league. And I do feel that you have every other year, sort of, in the past, I don't know, about 5 years, you've gone bad luck, better luck, bad luck, better luck. And this year, your skill, there was no luck. Your skill shined through this season in that league, where you literally, you managed your way, you made the right moves, you made the right trades, You weren't, I don't know, like trying to figure things out because nothing was going right for you. Like everything worked the way it should, and you made the right
Mhm.
moves, and you finally had a skill-based outcome. So I'm very happy for you. I'm glad it was you and I, like I said. And touching on your point about the pitching being atrocious to start the the week, it was really bad.
I remember you texted
Oh,
me, you're just like,
yeah.
"Thanks, Michael," or something like that.
It was Tuesday, September 16th. You had Michael King get annihilated by the Mets to the tune of a
Right.
24 ERA. I streamed Shane Smith, who had been pretty hot in the second
Mhm.
half, coming back from an ankle injury. He had a 12.46 ERA. And then Christopher Sanchez, a Cy Young favorite, had the Dodgers in a terrible matchup. He had a 5.14 ERA. Cade Smith
Yeah.
gave up a run against Detroit, so that's another run. And of course, I benched Yuri Perez, who threw 5 shutout innings at Coors Field. So I
Of
said,
course.
I texted you, thanks, Michael King, for having the
Yeah.
worst outing of your career at the wrong time.
Yep.
But it's like a weird thing that happens when that occurs earlier in the week, where you do get the advantage of not having to worry about so
Right.
much. Like at that point, it's volume.
To piggyback off of what you're saying, it reminds me of when I came in first place. It was actually the first time I did it, which was our very first season.
Yes. Yeah, you're the
And I
OG
remember,
champion.
yep. And I remember my strategy back then was to really pay attention to two-start pitchers.
Yes.
Like I would like just obsessively track the two-start pitchers, and I was way more into like streaming, and I would just like study the matchups and evaluate all that kind of stuff, and that those would be my priority ads, and I think that was also my strategy all the way to the end. And I think even more so the final week, because it's like if you have a one start pitcher, like this time it was like you can have an ace pitching on Thursday. It's like, well, you don't need them anymore because there are no more weeks, so you can drop them unless they're a keeper, and then just start picking people up. But streaming was part of my strategy, and like I think I've sort of gone away from that in recent years. It's been
Yeah.
more of like I want to build the best team that's gonna
Predictability.
carry me all the way through. Yeah, yeah, which is not a bad not a bad thing to strive for, but I think sometimes there's like a calcification in that where you get kind of rigid and you don't maximize your margins, I think. So no spoiler, but that was kind of like a thing I noted, and kind of I think I want to learn from a little bit going into next season. And to touch on our 12 team league, the commissioner in that league kind of just plays, the opposite to how you and I, the strategies you and I preach, which is he's a complete gambler and like will just stream and like drop Geraldo Perdomo
In the playoffs.
in the playoffs, and just kind of go for the hottest thing, and that got him to the final round. So I guess there's some credence to that play style.
There is, and I'm glad you brought that up because it was a really good segue to talk about the 12-teamer. Uh, that rigidity that you referenced, that happened to me in that league because my pitching staff, and we talked about this all season on the pod, my pitching staff was a problem all
Hmm.
season. And
Yep.
I was trying to find solutions. So I was streaming and turning it over. And then
Hmm.
eventually got to a point where I felt comfortable with the guys that I had, regardless of their performance. I was looking at
Yep.
predictive stats, everything that we talk about here,
Yep.
XFIP, XERA, swinging strike rate, all that stuff. And I felt comfortable with my roster, and what was out on the waiver wire was not great. And and then maybe one or two options popped up, and I started to feel like, can I can't make this move. Like this is supposed to be stable what I have. And it turns out it wasn't. And I lost the 20 game lead in that league. I had a 20 game lead with about a month left
Yep.
in the regular season. And I fell into a tie for first place because my team just fell off a cliff because I wasn't making the moves on the margins because of that rigidity. And it turned out that once I started doing that again, my team started to heat up again and things got better. I was moving, okay, this guy's cold, got to move him, get rid of him, drop him, add this player, just on the margins, making the moves to make up the difference for when your star studs and your, the bedrock of your team isn't performing at peak level.
Yep.
And when you go with the set and forget strategy, which is, I think, kind of what we do, we look to have a solid team top to bottom where we don't have to constantly be looking for those gems. I think that strategy where you improve on the margins all the time is what we need to do. And this is kind of jumping into the next segment later in the show, which is a lesson learned. So I think that, constantly overturning the margins is important. And I know we talked about, always overturn the bottom of your roster in the beginning of the season. That gets harder as the year goes on because you start to find players that you like in the bottom half of your roster. But don't get complacent there, I think is the big takeaway.
Agreed.
But like you said, one of the managers, the commissioner actually of the 12-team league is a shoot from the hip kind of guy. He'll overturn and drop somebody if they have an 0 for 5 game just because he thinks they're going to go cold. Do not drop a guy who's been phenomenal, like Geraldo Perdomo, in the semifinals.
Yeah. I think you both,
I picked him up, and it came to bite him in the butt because I faced him in the championship of that league, and Perdomo had a great week, and the guy that he picked up as a replacement, Colson Montgomery, who was homering every other breath he took, stopped homering, and I think I got the advantage in that position for that transaction, and I won the league in the 12-teamer as well, and you placed third. You lost to him in the semifinals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Eventually, and this is what we believe here, you can go with the other strategy. Eventually, that massive roster overturn, and we're not talking about just the bottom third. We're talking about even the top third. Overturning your roster top to bottom all the time, just playing the hot hand, I think eventually catches up to you. You can't be lucky all the time.
Well, he also is, has the fortune of having Aaron Judge on his team. So I feel like Aaron Judge kind of counts as like 3 first-round picks, like him and Ohtani. They're just like in a whole other stratosphere. So, maybe when Aaron Judge, declines, that will be his decline as well.
I would not be surprised if Aaron Judge one season, if Aaron Judge has a bad year and then gets off to a bad start the following season, if he would drop Aaron Judge. I won't be surprised.
He's not precious.
No, not at all. He really, looking at his roster, you got waiver wire catcher, waiver wire first base, waiver wire second base. I don't know let's see if he has Eugenio Suarez. Was Suarez drafted? He was. This is one of the players that he's kept.
I traded those him.
No, but he drafted him. And then you picked him up, and then you traded him to him.
Yeah.
Who did you get back for Suarez?
Logan Webb.
Oh my God! So he. Oh my. We can revisit our trade shows, but kids, ladies and gentlemen, don't.
Yeah. I don't think Logan Webb did me any favors in the playoffs.
But he got you there. I think he helped get you there. His keepers were his pitchers. And even just looking at his roster here at the end of the season, he barely kept any of them around. So this is a keep forever league where he's just turning over his roster. And
Logan Webb was the keeper of this.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, he somehow made it to the championship, but my roster finally woke up because this was the guy who tied me for first place, and I won first place regular season by half a game, which in that league is important because
Yeah.
tie goes to the higher seed, which I think is nonsense. It should be regular season record. Just because you're the higher seed, I was a higher seed by half a game. Does that mean my team was that much better? No, it does. No, regular season head-to-head record is the way to do it. Anyway, I somehow managed to win that league with Wyatt Langford and Kyle Tucker and Austin Riley all being hurt. So that gives me a little bit of faith going into next season that maybe my team will be okay. But I still can't get over the fact that you should take my fantasy license away for dropping Nick Kurtz
Oh,
in that league particularly. Anyway, that does it for the outcomes of our leagues. In the 10-teamer, I came in first, Josh came in second. And in the 12-teamer, I came in first, Josh came in third. Great fantasy season for myself. I think I've had the 2 best fantasy weeks of my fantasy career this year. The 1 week where I won 12-0 in both leagues,
nice.
and then winning both leagues. I think this is the first time I've done that too, winning both leagues. But moving on to our biggest surprises and our biggest letdowns of the season. All right, so let's go on to our biggest surprises and biggest letdowns. Josh, first up, your biggest surprise of the season.
Well, you know what? I think I'm gonna nip both in the bud here,
Ooh,
because
right away.
I think my biggest surprise and letdown was the closer
Mm,
position.
yeah.
And I'm not getting to talk about this is strictly our from our 10 team league, uh, because the I'm not even going to get into it, but the
Safe
12
plus
team
hold.
league is save splits hold, and that's just kind of a joke. Anyway, not going to open that can of worms, but yeah, the in the 10 in our 10 teamer, I drafted specifically my situation was I drafted early, but I finished pretty poorly the season before. And I also made a lot of off-season trades, so I had a lot of early picks. So with my embarrassment of riches, my drafting picks, it was like, oh, I've never really done this before. I'm gonna take a bunch of good elite closers, and Williams, Hader, not really Ryan Walker, but I think I took him fairly early.
Yeah, you took him as
Mm.
a top 10 pick for yourself. Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm set and forget. Don't have to worry about it. I got four. I think you and I determined the good strategy for that league is having four closers.
You also had Johan Duran.
I know. Well, he
Don't
was
forget
the
about him.
1-4 win there. Um. So yeah, that turned out horribly. I think I was just surprised that having that many picks, high picks, and using that on what I thought were elite closers, that was a pretty big letdown. And I think the big surprise comes in where, if you look at our anybody's roster right now, not just me, but yours as well, the closers that we have are not who you would think are closers that are going to, be league winners. They're just kind of kind of as we were saying, they were just kind of these margin, Kyle Finnegan. He was he's not good, he's not elite, but he got 20, 25 saves, and that was serviceable for most of the season.
Yeah.
So I think it's I'm not saying forget about saves, but I just wonder if that's just something you can kind of when it comes time, because it happens every year during the draft, there's always a closer run. So I'm almost of the mind it's let the quote unquote elite closers get taken and zig when others are zagging and grab somebody else, grab an ace, grab a good bat that you need to fill out your lineup, and then worry about closers, kind of towards, round 10 and above, maybe. Don't worry about it as much. Maybe even during the first week, maybe some of the nebulous closer situations will work themselves out. So just kind of hold some, ad drops during that first week. But like, yeah, I just don't think, you need to like, or at least me personally, grab like elite closers in the first 10 rounds.
We had a whole show basically dedicated to all the closers that were traded. Every closer was traded this season, right?
Yeah.
Um, but before that point in the year, closers seemed to be pretty stable,
Mhm.
barring, injury or somebody losing their job like Devin Williams because he was terrible. But it kind of changed at the draft when closers kind of got dissipated. Well,
Oh, right.
the position got decimated is what I'm trying to say.
That's true. That's another
And
factor.
and you had closers change teams and become seventh inning guys.
Yeah.
You had closers change teams and become the definitive guy. You had closers change teams and have a question whether or not they were going to be the guy, like David Bednar. Nobody knew if he was going to be the guy or not. And then Devin Williams sucked again, and Bednar became the guy and is still the guy. I think it's a really challenging position to evaluate because what they really give you is one category. Now, we play in a league where we have a K to walk ratio, and then another one of our leagues is K per 9. So they can really help contribute there. They help you marginally improve your ratios if you have the really good ones.
Mhm.
That being said, to get the really good ones, like you said, you have to invest very early in those players, and the returns on them can be quite volatile. Closers have a very small sample size on a year-to-year basis. In fact, a good closer who throws 60 innings in a year will take 3 seasons to have 1 year of a starter workload. And we often say 1 year of a starter workload is not enough information to
Yeah,
really
right.
understand who that pitcher is. We talk 3 years of that pitcher to get a good average. That would require 9 years of a closer.
Yeah.
And
Be pitching by then.
none of these guys last 9 years, which makes the elite of the elite. A guy like Kenley Jansen, a guy like Craig Kimbrell, Mariano Rivera, Trevor Hoffman. That's what makes Joe Nathan. That's what makes those guys so special, is that they lasted so long in the role. A lot of these guys just don't. And I think, like, did you have Aroldis Chapman being the best reliever in baseball this year?
Nope.
No.
Even close.
Not yet. Not even close. I believe you were the first person to take a closer. You took Devin Williams with the 28th overall pick in our
Yep.
10-team league, and there's no way he returned that value.
Nope.
It's very hard for a closer to return the value at the pick that you have to take them in. So I wholeheartedly agree with you that, yeah, maybe wait. And in that same league, I waited until my 7th pick. It was the 7th round where I took Jeff Hoffman. And Jeff Hoffman has been good for strikeouts and K per 9, but he's been atrocious for your ratios otherwise because he gives up too many home runs. And this year he just gave up too many home runs. My next closer I took 2 rounds later, and that was Trevor Megill. Megill was my most steady relief arm until he hurt his elbow in like the last 3 weeks of the season, right when I needed him the most. And then my 3rd and 4th closer, I was just cycling through all season. I acquired Cade Smith and I acquired Emilio Pagan. I did not have those two finishing the season as the closer for either one of their teams. Pagan with his home run problems playing in Cincinnati, and then Cade Smith, who knew that, gambling was going to be a thing in the Cleveland Guardians locker room for Emmanuel Clase? I mean, it's such an unpredictable position. A guy has a bad, 2-week stretch, they could lose their job for the season.
Yeah, Ryan Walker lost the job and gained the job back.
By sheer luck.
For better or for worse.
I mean, just absolutely wild. I will recall, I believe I was out on Ryan Walker to start the season because that crossbody motion, too inconsistent, and here we are with an ERA in the mid-4s. Anyway, I would agree with you that the biggest surprise and a big letdown was the closer position. I'm going to say the biggest surprise this year is Nick Kurtz, because how often do we really see a rookie just come in and just absolutely destroy the baseball? I
But
mean,
yeah, like a literal historic season.
yeah,
Like that 4 homer, was it 8 RBI game? I think you and I were texting that night.
that had
I
to
wasn't
have been
even
the
like
peak.
gloating. I was just like,
Yeah.
what the hell? Like, am I seeing stuff? Like, is this real?
Yeah, that was just an absolutely crazy game. I said that's got to be the peak. It's all downhill from there. And sure, it's been a slight decrease.
Well, who can like that's like
Nobody,
a
yeah.
historic game. That's like one of the best probably fantasy games of all time,
Yeah.
you
If it,
know?
he was 6 for 6, right? With 4 home
Yeah.
runs. Yeah,
Yep.
unbelievable.
8 RBI, like
Unbelievable game.
what more do you want?
You
Like
you literally you can't ask for anything more. If you do, you're just being a greedy jerk.
yeah, right. I would go like sometimes for, morbid curiosity, I go into like the Yahoo like player page, like chats or like not chats, but the comment
That's a
page.
dark place you go to.
And there was like I remember like after that game, I don't know if Ertz got hurt or he kind of cooled off. Like there was like a week or two, like he didn't homer and people were like considering dropping him and wow.
I know. Shame on me. I did this in a keep
Oh,
forever
not you.
league.
I'm
I
just
know,
saying,
I know,
like
I know.
after
I
I'm
didn't
like,
have him at
what?
that point. I'd
Yeah.
gotten rid of him long before that. But the reason I'm saying he's a big surprise is, yes, he was making the loud contact, but I watched him against the Yankees when
I
the
know.
Yankees went to Oakland, and Kurtz hadn't heated up yet. I watched him, and I'm watching his swing decisions, and I wasn't thrilled with them. And I'm watching, his strikeout rate was like 40% at this point. I'm like, okay, he might be just a little overmatched. And then something
Yeah.
clicked, and this guy just took off. Absolutely insane.
Isn't that like the thing? I'm just going off the top of my head here, but I feel like I've read that he actually, like your assessment is correct. Like he doesn't have the best swing decisions at times, but like his swing is just optimized for like insane power. So it's like those two things kind of that maybe some of the decisions, which might correct over time as he, develops into a player. Some people were saying like think like at the Athletic, like his swing path is very similar to like Otani's, and he's very good at hitting home runs. So,
He's in the 50s again. He's chasing 60. I don't think he
so
can do it, but yeah, I look, Nick Kurtz's XBA is 40 points lower than his actual batting average. So that right there tells you that he's been quite lucky. But even if you still take his regular stats versus the expected, I mean, a 378 expected WOBA is really good. A
yeah,
540
that's
expected slug is really good. uh, even a 252 average with 45 home runs. I mean,
yeah. Pete Alonso,
Cal Raleigh.
Cal Raleigh.
Yeah, talk about a surprise. There's another one. Cal Raleigh, big surprise
Yep.
this year. Never has a catcher hit 60 home runs, and here we are.
Yeah.
Did not
Is he
expect
gonna? Is
that.
he? I wonder if he's gonna take the record.
I don't know. He's got 3 days. He's got 3 days.
Schwarber might too.
I
For
know.
the NL.
I know. I know.
Two Yankees will be dethroned.
It's kind of wild to see what's going on with the homers all of a sudden. But I guess this is kind of what happens when the ball is not juiced. You've got now hitting has caught up to pitching, and we talked about that earlier in the season with the torpedo bats. Not that all these guys are using torpedo bats, but it's just one of the things that has helped hitting catch up to pitching. Back to Cal Raleigh for a second. Remember when I said I panic picked him? And he helped me win a championship. So just because you panic pick someone doesn't mean you should then do something irrational. See what happens.
I think you need to buy like a jersey,
I probably
dumper
should.
jersey.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
To commemorate your championship season.
I'm a dumper dandy.
Dumper dude.
A dumper dude. Anyway, so yeah, biggest surprise I'd say Nick Kurtz and of course Cal Raleigh, but everyone knew Cal Raleigh had the power stroke. He's just having a magical season. All right, so you said your biggest letdown was the bullpen situation, closers in
Yeah,
general. I'll have to say my biggest letdown, guys coming off Tommy John surgery. Just blanket, whether that's Yuri Perez, whether that's Sandy Alcantara, literally Shane Bieber.
and Shane Bieber.
Yeah, literally any pitcher, any starting pitcher coming off Tommy John surgery, I think was a little disappointment because maybe except Kyle Bradish, maybe. Just looking at, some of these guys, they came back 13, 14 months. Other guys took 16 plus months to come back. And so you'd figure that they would be, ready to go. But it takes time to come back from that surgery. And I think you need game action. And I'd say that the letdown is expecting anything less than what happened. Or I should say anything more than what happened. Expecting better results because they were what I was grasping at in the leagues to fill out my pitching staff because I needed help, and they helped to a degree, but not as much as I had hoped. Where I was still streaming, I was up till 3 a.m. making ads in the morning for the next day, looking ahead, watching the schedules, and then last week, of course, no one knew who was starting tomorrow, and that was really annoying. Yahoo had it different than Roster Resource on Fangraphs, who had it different than MLB.com. It was just a big mess. So I'll say guys coming back from Tommy John surgery, the ups and the downs, the roller coaster, dealing with that.
Yeah, I'm just to comment on what you were talking about. It's like, yeah, I totally agree, and I think even like some of the pitchers coming back not from injury or not from Tommy John, like what's his name, Brewers, Woodford or
Woodruff, Brandon Woodruff.
Woodruff, Woodford.
Jake Woodford's back.
Yeah, yeah, Woodruff. It was like, even he, like, he was great for like 5 starts, but then he fell off a cliff. Like Yuri Perez was good for a little bit, but then he fell off. And it's like, I think the only pitcher that was kind of usable was DeGrom.
Yeah. Oh, biggest surprise. I'd throw him in there.
But look at the ratio of success. Like, it's not something to bet on. And I think there's kind of like a rule of thumb developing in the fantasy world where it's like you kind of have to take these guys on year 2 post EJ, and like I just think it's a mistake going into a draft, like, because I think I did this in our 12 teamer where I picked a bunch of, like, I think I did grab Woodruff. I grabbed some other guys, Sandy Alcantara, and it was just like, it's way too much risk.
Yeah.
And that really set me back in that league, even though I finished 3rd, but pitching was a nightmare for a lot of the season.
Yeah. Look, I think it would be a disservice if we didn't mention, I think, the ultimate disappointment when it came to coming back from injury, and that's Spencer Strider. He was awful, borderline droppable bad for a good portion of the season, but his upside remains tremendous to where nobody would drop him. I don't know. I'm out on Strider until he proves that he's even like a mid-rotation guy in fantasy.
Yeah, going into next season, like Garrett Cole, like, not pin a lot of hopes on him.
I would not either. Yeah.
What's his name? McShane. Like,
oh no, oh my God. I drafted him in the 12 team, and it was like, he's coming back. He's not.
Yeah. I think you texted me. You texted me at one point. It's like, drop this guy, and I was like, you had enough keepers. Like, this guy is just not, based on how all the other injured guys go and how the Rays play. You need the space.
I can't believe I took him in the 10th round. It's the 10th round, but the way keepers work, it's really the 4th round of the 12 teamer. Looking back at my draft there, my best picks were like in the what I would call the droppable range. Like, okay, so Max Fried was great. Mike Trout, not good. I dropped him. Shane McClanahan, Yuck. Cal Raleigh, Sonny Gray, then Christian Yelich. And then we get into like the piss poor picks, which I'm not even going to go into because those guys didn't last. But like,
Actually,
ugh,
go ahead.
I'm just, how awful. I mean, Kikuchi, I can't go past Job. It gets real bad.
Oh, actually, yeah. One quick extra bonus surprise was I do think, I guess this is the duh, but I just think your like, especially your early round picks, like, matter a lot.
Yes.
And that goes for if you make trades, like if you trade picks away and all that kind of stuff. Having those early round picks and also the decisions you make will matter. One thing that really not surprised me, but I really like took note of was when I was facing you in the 10-teamer, it really came down, at least for the first part of the week, like the bulk of the week, came down to Manny Machado and Pete Alonso, which those guys were in Fuego. And those guys, like I told you at the beginning of the season, I was like, I need to take a first baseman and a third baseman in my first two picks.
Yep.
And those two guys were my alternates to who I drafted, which was Rafael Devers and Vlad Jr. So I could have had those guys. If things swung a different way in the draft, I would have probably taken those guys, and those guys really, dictated a lot of our matchup. I thought that was really interesting.
That's
and just like
wild.
And really, like, yeah, those early investments will, should carry you and determine a lot your season goes.
They really can, and it's funny you say that because I look at, now that's the 10-teamer. I look at my 12-teamer and I'm like, my early picks there. Okay, Max Fried put out his best performance of the season in the championship week. 7 innings, 13 strikeouts, shutout. Like that was like an ace of all aces performances that I could have asked for. He was my first pick in the 12 team. And then I had some really bad picks that hurt me and were part of why I started to fall and drop from first. Because when my keepers, Kyle Tucker, Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna, were either hurt or bad, like I had nothing to fall back on other than Cal Raleigh. And Cal Raleigh at that time was slumping because you can't maintain what he was doing. You just can't.
Can't hit a home run every game.
So, I was lucky where I had somebody like Christian Yelich, who, yes, he ran hot and cold all season, but he had a very good bounce back year that at least kept me mildly competitive. But I was lucky that everybody then got healthy and heated up at the right time in the 12-teamer to help me win. But I had very slim margin of error, in my opinion, in that league because I had drafted so poorly. And then in the 10-teamer, yeah, like you said, the way it worked out was you took Vlad in the first round. If you had gone a different way, you would have gotten Alonso, and I wouldn't have gotten, and it would have changed how things worked. It's so crazy how it turned out that way. And I think it happens more often than maybe we notice, you know? Like if you had gotten real value out of that Devin Williams pick, 28th overall, if you had gotten what you expected, if you had gotten what you expected out of Hader, I mean, you may not have acquired Bobby Witt Jr., but that's a story for another time. But yeah, it would have been really interesting to see what other moves you would have made because you wouldn't have been concerning yourself with the bullpen at all. So yeah, it's really a ripple effect, and which is why, like we said in one of our very first episodes, you want to set yourself up for success in the early rounds of your draft, and take the guys that you think can be the foundation of a championship roster. All right, moving on to lessons learned. We've kind of alluded to a lot of these things throughout the episode, so we'll just keep it brief and keep, sort of summarize it. Lessons learned: don't invest too early in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Lesson learned: don't invest too early in guys coming off Tommy John surgery.
No.
What else? Lesson learned: your early picks matter.
Yeah. I think one thing we kind of both agreed on at the very start of the was just not getting really rigid in your roster construction, like leaving a little space to make up ground on the margins, I think is really key. And I think you spoke to me quite a bit of this, and it's made me very, interested to see how I tackle next season. But it's like, I had in our 10 teamer, I had all these early round picks, and like I think I was done with our draft in like the ninth or 10th round, and I
Yeah, it
was
was
just
ridiculous.
I have everything set and I don't have to worry. But then, having all these, high value players made me more rigid and how and I think that held me back. So what you might think is a boon, having all these, trading for all these early picks might actually harm you in certain ways.
One of the managers in our league who made all those crazy trades and acquired those first round picks, which I think is hilarious. He did not end up with the first pick in the draft. He is going to have a hard time next season. Like he'll draft, good players and he'll have good players, and he's been in this position, and he and I talked about that too. Having all those early picks, it makes your roster really hard to churn. And because you do get stuck, like, oh, so and so is hurt, he's going to be out 3 months. I can't drop him because that's, that was my fifth pick. This is a guy who's supposed to go, 30 and 100 or whatever. Like that player is stuck on your roster. Whereas if the guy drafted in the 17th round is out 3 months, you can afford to drop him. Also,
just being in like a keeper situation too, it's like a lot of the great talents there's okay, but yeah, there a lot of the great talents you might think of in like a redraft, they're not there. It's not as like cut and dry into a redraft mat with a bunch of first round picks.
Right. Yeah. I'll say our leagues are unique in that how the keepers work in each one. So when we talk about, the pick situation, when you should draft, all this roster construction, it works just a little differently for us because we have to be mindful of certain players. Like we can't be too cavalier with our rosters in certain ways that I hope one manager really did learn that he can't be that cavalier. He was in first place. He would have cruised if he made no moves. He would have cruised to a championship based on the players that he dealt away. And then the players he acquired were still really good. And then he dealt them away and hung his hat on. And I will say, a lesson learned: when I am so passionate about a player that you should be out on, listen. Because I friggin' nailed Pete Crow Armstrong. Okay? He has been atrocious in the second half. Lesson learned: if your swinging strike rate and your production don't match up, odds are the swinging strike rate is going to win out.
Bottom really sell out.
Oh, God. Pete Crow, that was my most passionate thing I think I was about this season, was Pete Crow Armstrong is not him. He is not capital H-I-M. He is not him. Okay? And I think your most passionate thing this year was Michael Harris.
Okay. Actually, there was a brief moment, I think, was it a couple weeks ago or late August, when he was just like on fire.
Yeah, it was early August. Yeah.
And I think another manager had picked him up because I had dropped him. And I was like, did I make a mistake? And then a couple weeks passed and I was like, oh, because I think he was dropped again.
He was. No, you did not make a mistake. Yeah, he got super Saiyan hot for a little bit, but then turned back into the pumpkin that we know him to be. So lessons learned all around. When we are extremely passionate about a player, good or bad, we should listen to ourselves too. Like, don't drop Nick Kurtz. Okay. uh. Anyway, this has been a really fun season. Doing the
Mhm.
pod, I think, gave us some really good insights for our own leagues. And we hope that we were able to bring some good insights to you and your leagues and helped you even just get that much better as I hold up my fingers about a half an inch apart. Help you get that much better in your leagues. And maybe next year, if you didn't win this year, maybe you'll win next year. And I'm not talking about you, Josh. You have a great chance of winning every season. I'm talking about you, the listener. There's some luck involved in what we play, so it's good to have some good luck every once in a while. And when you're experiencing the bad luck, just be sure to fall on the tools that we're trying to give you. Look at those analytical stats. Stay the course. Don't make any rash decisions. And there's a good chance you'll come out on top in the end. So, for one last time for the 2025 fantasy baseball season, that's Josh Day. I'm Eric Henriksen saying, see you next year.
The off season.